Hello everyone, this is part 50 of What If Naruto Learned the Secret of Shadow Clone, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Naruto frowned as his clones encircled Obito, who had yet to make a move against them. Naruto had been cautious at first, remembering his thoughts after learning that Kakashi could bend literal space and time to his whim. The thought of anyone being able to hop into a separate dimension at will was a terrifying one. You could do anything if you thought about it hard enough. Avoid crazy damage and techniques. Slip away to get a good night's rest and avoid amorous wives. Build a whole new world just for yourself if you wanted to and had the manpower for it. Obito seemed to be the type to use his abilities just to avoid damage and travel when he needed to, which seemed like such a waste to Naruto. The man had no imagination. Naruto had his arms crossed as the clones closed in around the Uchiha. You really could have done some incredible stuff with your abilities. Obito frowned, eyes tracking as many of the clones as he could. I have done incredible things, you just weren't around to see them. Shrugging and planning out how this was going to go, Naruto mentally downgraded the Uchiha in his mind. Sasuke had a better mentality than this douche. You say that, but considering the world is still such shit, I don't really believe you. Wasn't Obito just spouting that he wanted a world at peace? Why not use all this time to actually work towards that, instead of letting conflict after conflict rage on all this time? All those lost ninja lives in useless wars, all the dead and displaced civilians caught in between. For what? Fingers twitching as he tried and failed again to dimension shift away, Obito sighed, are you sure you want to go down this route? I have an end goal that I will see to its completion. If I have to kill you now versus later, I will. Rolling his eyes, Naruto gave a mental command to his clones, the clone using the Asura realm taking the lead. Arms opening up to show metallic augmentations, kunai with exploding notes were launched at speed towards Obito. He was quick to dodge and jump out of the way, narrowly avoiding the destruction while gloating. I'm responsible for that little Nagato brat and his paths. You think using the same tactics against me will do you any good? Ducking under something that looked suspiciously like a missile, Obito had to bend nearly 90 degrees backwards to avoid a hand that sailed over his nose that was grasping for his forehead. The human path had made an appearance then. You'd have better luck trying to kill me with a simple kunai. Naruto was grinning as he watched the battle unfold. That sounds like fun. I'm sure Ta-chan or Hinata-Heim would question about what it would be like to fillet a live human. Naruto's smirk grew as Obito attempted a grand fireball and the Predator clone absorbed the technique. But I really do want to see what happens to a human body when you turn it inside out. So you're going to be my guinea pig. Tapping into the chakra of his donated and distorted right arm, Obito surprised one of the clones with a wooden spike to the chest, as if I'll give you the chance. His victory was short-lived as another clone was suddenly at his side with a wide grin and glowing seals around its wrists. Taste the rainbow, bitch. An explosion rocked the area and a cloud of smoke filled the cave chamber. Obito was rocketed away to smash into the cave wall, coughing and hacking up blood all the while. Below him and unseen in the smoke, Naruto easily made a new clone to replace the one lost. When the dust cleared and Obito caught his breath, he grunted and spit blood on the ground when he was met again with 6 identical Narutos. It doesn't have to be this way, Obito ducked under another kunai and shuriken assault from the Asura clone, dodging for all that he was worth. With my power and strength, we could force this wretched world to see things our way. Yes, my piece will not be clean, but it would be a just one. No one else will have to die in the future. We can all have what we want. What we need. No more shadow games between villages. Taking everything in and nodding along as Obito talks, Naruto's eyes held their hard edge. You aren't wrong, I suppose. I am strong. Strong enough to make everyone else bow down to my wishes. Peace would be secured and conflict would grind to a halt. Naruto watched as Obito attempted a massive fire technique that would normally have obliterated the space they were battling inside of. Instead, it was once more the Predator clone that stepped in the way to absorb the chakra and dispel the technique. Except it would only be temporary. Fleeting. The second I show weakness, the moment I am gone from this world, it will all come crashing down. Obito was panting as his mind raced to both figure out the best way to end this quickly and re-establish his Kamui techniques. There had to be a way. You are weak and a fool. Just a little boy who doesn't have the strength to do what is needed. Slipping under a sloppy right hook, Obito lodged a kunai into the chest of the attacking clone above him. Frowning as he had a second of warning as his kunai sizzled, the explosion that sent him tumbling away was expected in the end. Did this brat use explosions in everything he did? Your weakness is okay in the end. I'll use you. Your strength and the QB inside of you will be the catalyst to help build a more just world. I'll just have to kill you first. Naruto laughs as with a thought his sword is unsealed and bouncing on his right shoulder, just like that. You'll have to kill me. Another thought and he's flashing into close range, sword already swinging in a tight arc that Obito can't avoid. There is a scream of pain and rage, blood trails his sword's edge, and the Uchiha's left arm goes flying before Naruto is flashing away again to watch from a distance. You have a lot of nerve thinking you can fight so evenly against me. You can barely fight off my clones as it is. It didn't matter that Naruto was intentionally dragging this out and taking it easy. His only concern and hard line was making sure Obito never touched him. He certainly didn't want his girls to worry. Not after Orochimaru. Clutching the stump of his arm and willing his body to begin the healing process, Obito turns hate-filled eyes towards the Uzumaki clan head. Laugh now, boy. Even if you get lucky and kill me, someone even more terrifying is coming for you. When that day comes, you'll have no one capable of helping you. Pulling on the Deva path, Naruto opens a single palm and waves it down towards the ground. In response, Obito is crushed down by an unseen force, laid out flat on his back, seems pretty vague. One day'll need saving. As if none of my wives will be there. Or my best friend who is admittedly a much stronger Uchiha than you. Or any of the other villages that I've worked hard at building friendships and alliances with. Another mental command and the Asura clone is at Obito's side latching onto his remaining arm. Arms bulging with artificial muscle, there's a wet tearing sound and Obito's remaining arm goes flying into the distance with a pain-filled scream. Yeah, I still dream of a world at peace. Where people can live and love and dream without the threat of war on their shoulders. A world where bloodshed isn't needed. But I know better now. Some people just won't learn unless they are forced to. Forced to see the bigger picture. Naruto easily tuned out the dead man's screams. This was someone who deserved all of the pain he was going to receive, and Naruto was just the agent that made sure he got his punishment. So I'm going to make that my job. I'm going to show men and women like you that you're the ones in the wrong. That the rest of the world can move on and learn to love and accept each other. That they can be at peace without constant fighting and war. And you. Here the Naraka clone finally comes forward, summoning the King of Hell to eat Obito's body in order to heal him completely. Naruto waited, patient as Obito's body was spit back out and limp onto the ground. You'll just be one of the first to miss out of what could have been. Panting and realizing that his chakra was going haywire, Obito struggled to roll over onto his knees. What have you done? Naruto shrugged, the rest of his clones coming around to surround Obito once more but making no more moves beyond that. Be thankful, I've given you a gift, much better than that hodgepodge body with the grafted remains of Hashirama. A renewed body all your own. The price is simple. Submit to me, body and soul, and I just may spare you. A lie, but Naruto was curious to see what Obito would do with this chance. Did he have any honor left in him? Or was he fully the twisted and corrupted monster Naruto assumed he was? Obito's mind whirled, where had it all gone so horribly wrong? He should have no problems with this boy, he was the pinnacle of what it meant to be an Uchiha, a shinobi. He was the next coming of Madara himself. Yet here he was, tossed around by some wet behind the ears brat whose clan was nearly wiped out. Perhaps, when I stole you from Kushina's dying arms I should have smashed you against the dirt then. Certainly would have saved me the trouble now. Circulating chakra throughout his body now that it was beginning to settle, he did have to admit that he felt stronger, more in tune with his body than he ever had before. Surely the boy had given him something even stronger than he even realized. You don't understand real pain. What loss is like. What heartbreak is. What betrayal does to your soul. Obito's mind casts back to that fateful day. Kakashi and Rin surrounded by Kiri Ninja. Kakashi's arm buried in Rin's chest to the elbow. The small, sweet smile on Rin's face. His heart ached terribly. I'm going to kill you, and make my new world a reality. He would see her again. He would have her by his side, their team whole again. As it should have been. Sighing and shaking his head, Naruto snaps his fingers and immediately 3 of the clones begin to battle Obito in taijutsu. The Asura path takes the lead, delivering heavy hits and combos to which Obito trades almost equally but tanks or diverts what he can. Whenever the Uchiha looks to get the upper hand and has a chance to strike back, the animal path forces the Asura clone to switch places with the Preta path through its summoning ability. The Preta would then absorb the chakra within Obito's strike, leaving him open to the Asura to strike him again with any manner of augmenting limbs. Through it all, Obito is nearly foaming at the mouth, mind racing and failing to come up with a solution to this battle. I promise, Azushio will fall again just like we achieved before. Everything and everyone you love will be buried for your arrogance. Watching and planning on what he was going to experiment with next, Naruto's thoughts are derailed as Kurama's voice comes screaming into his mind. Stop playing around. Something doesn't feel right, we need to get back. Though the barrier was meant to keep Obito from jumping away with his ability, it also was keeping Naruto from sensing anything from Azushio. Kurama didn't like it, and wanted to get back quickly. Naruto felt detached as he watched Obito literally get tossed around the darkened space. From heavy strikes from the Asura to explosions and traps set by the animal and Preta path. It had quickly turned into a game Naruto knew he could lose if he lost focus. Yes, this was the man who was responsible for his parents' demise. Something that he would not reverse. Even so, torturing or killing Obito wouldn't make them happy or bring them back. Sorry Kurama. You're right. Got a little lost there. You've centered me so much, the least I can do is make sure you don't go off the deep end from time to time. Kurama had started to worry there. Something in Naruto had seriously begun to shift into a dark place there. Kurama loved a good fight, but this wasn't it. This was a slaughter, one that was overdue. Sighing and bringing up a fist, he coated his knuckles with chakra and began to mold a seal there with a thought, guess this is over then. Dashing in as his clones all jumped away at once, Naruto buried a fist into Obito's guts. Augmented with both Sage Chakra and Kurama's own as he was, his fist nearly blew out Obito's spine from his back. As it was, Obito was sent crashing into the cave wall before bouncing back to fall in a heap onto the rocky floor. Walking forward over the porous and jagged rock, Naruto watched as Obito heaved and coughed up blood. Hands on his hips as he kept a safe distance, Naruto wanted to see what came next. Hey, tell me how it feels in a second, will you? What? Obito again struggled to rise to his knees, getting upright to stare Naruto in the eyes before something began to pull at his navel. Looking down and seeing nothing there, the pull began to increase exponentially. What have you done? Naruto shrugged as Obito's body began to warp. Take a guess. He watched as Obito's screams filled the cavernous space, body twisting and turning before with a wet tearing sound, flesh and bone ripped and tore before a mass of organic material was left in a pile on the ground before him. Humming and making a note not to show this to any of the girls, Naruto motioned to the Naraka path again. Watching the mass twitch and gurgle, something that looked oddly like a heart pumping furiously and copious amounts of blood soaking into the ground, Naruto wondered if Obito was conscious during all of that. The pulsing lungs and sucking sound had him believing that it was a good possibility. Perfect. The Naraka clone did its job, summoning the King of Hell again to heal Obito before spitting his yet again drained body back on the floor. So, how was it? Shall we go with filleting next? Trembling and deciding that he had made a tremendous error, Obito considered that he never should have come to Azushio. He should have left Kurotsuki to her fate. Everything hurt, every nerve ending was on fire. All of his being was pain. Your entire clan is nothing but monsters, the world would be best rid of you. Shaking his head as the human path clone walked forward, Naruto sighed as he watched Obito's mind break in real time. You say you're responsible for pain in his paths, right? So do you know what the human path is really capable of? What of the Naraka path? How about together? No. Well, you're about to learn. Hell is too good a place for someone like you. So I have something else in mind. Here Naruto finally does something different, pulling the Shinigami mask from the seal within his jacket and placing it on his face. You won't win, they'll hate you. The world will despise you. Obito's voice was quiet as he was lifted up by his hair, body spent and chakra nearly depleted. Was this how Madara felt? Fighting against Hashirama and failing all those times. It was like fighting against a literal kami. Naruto nodded once, actually agreeing with that. In a just world, one day they will hate me and that will be fine. Every generation is supposed to look back on their predecessor and weep at what they went through. So they can look forward and build something better. Not that you'll get to see the better world that we'll build. With a thought, Naruto watched as the human path ripped Obito's soul from his body. Said body dropped lifeless to the ground, while Naruto was greeted to a soundlessly screaming ethereal form that seemed to be ranting and raving in place. Knowing he was on a time limit now, Naruto cycled chakra through his mask in order to summon the Shinigami itself, the large kami forming before him to stare down on him and his clones silently. Cautiously and with more care than he felt at the moment, Naruto bowed his head. I have a soul for you, long overdue and yours to do with as you please. A token, yet to be redeemed at a later time. There is more silence as the Shinigami considers Naruto and his clones. Naruto wonders that he might be making a mistake here, but brushes it off. He wanted to be safe, make sure he had a backup just in case. And Obito and his ilk are terrible enough that he was willing to make this deal. The Shinigami seems pleased enough, nodding slowly in silence before taking the soul of the mad Uchiha from the human clone before eating him and taking him into his gullet. Satisfied with its meal, the kami fades away, leaving Naruto alone with his clones. With his job done and most of his rage settled, Naruto drops the barrier around the cave so he can return home. Suddenly tired and more emotionally worn than he ever expected, Naruto and the clones flash away to return to Uzushio. Appearing on the rooftop of the Uzumaki Tower, Naruto takes a moment to breathe deeply and take in the emotions and feelings of his people. While the ninja was still in a flurry of activity, centered around worry and anxiety, more so there was determination, confidence, hope laced in there. More on the general population as always felt so happy, at peace. They were still so centered on their lives, happy and ready for a new and better day. Still he had to chuckle as he realized he did leave behind a bit of a panic. Oh, just now remembering that. Yeah, sorry buddy, guess I got carried away. Inside his mindscape, Kurama shook his head. I can't blame you. Faced with your parents' killer. If anything, you showed some major restraint even if it was necessary. I'm just glad I got you to snap out of it. Dispelling his clones and sitting down to kick his feet out over the edge of the roof, Naruto couldn't help but feel a deep pit in his heart. If it was necessary, then why do I feel so empty? Vengeance does not always bring absolution, Naruto. Most times you need to live, grow and come to terms with your loss in your own way. That is how you can come to terms with your feelings. Plus, I'm sure the women in your life will be more than willing to help you. Here Kurama paused to really consider how to say what he wanted properly. They'll listen to you, you know, if you sit down and talk with them. They trust you completely and you should do the same. Naruto chuckles as he nods and leans back on his hands to look up into the bright blue sky. You aren't wrong. I should sit down with them, talk about this. Maybe I could use a good back rub tonight. Idly something tickled on his senses, but he didn't really have the energy to fully dive into it yet. You'll be fine, brat, just open up to them and be honest. You showed some decent self-control, so they won't be lecturing you on being reckless. Hey, thanks buddy, I'll do that. Naruto nods and keys his radio. At the least he should cancel his alert. This is Mr. 9 to control, I'm cancelling my previous alert. There is a moment of silence before a professional-sounding woman's voice pipes up. Roger that, Mr. 9. Silken Fist requests your presence in your office as soon as you're able. Understood, I'm on my way. Naruto took a few moments to look out over the city, recentering himself and vowing not to let his rage get the better of him in the future like it just had. He could have killed Obito near instantly if he had wanted, but had dragged it out. Obito could have gotten lucky. Something he couldn't afford. Standing with a groan and dusting himself off, with another look out over the city streets, he flashes away to his office. There was more work to be done, it seemed. We can take a break here, we're more than halfway to Azu by now. Killer Bee held up a fist as Team Samui dropped down to the forest floor around him. He had stopped them in a small clearing where there was just enough sunlight filtering through the canopy to remind them that it was just afternoon, but it certainly wasn't blinding. Pulling free a ration bar, he motioned to the space. Take a breather, relax, eat and drink, and then we'll continue on in half an hour. While he had the stamina to keep going for days if need be, he had to remember that these were normal humans. They did not have such inexhaustible energy reserves. Plopping down onto a log and sighing, Samui frowned as she pulled a flask of water free from her pack. Do you think Iwa is going to hold up their end of the deal? Personally, she barely trusted the Stone Village at all. Such was the fate of villagers who regularly crossed former allies. They better if they know what's good for them. This will end badly for both villages if we don't work together. B has no illusions on how this will go without Iwa's help. Sure, he could still put down Naruto, but the rest of his village might be a bit of a stretch. That was why they needed the distraction from Iwa Ninja. They stand a lot to benefit from this operation as well as it is. No point in losing out on the spoils. Omoi munches away on his own ration bar as Karui gives her team leader a thoughtful look. Should we split up or stick together once we make it to Wave? Samui shrugged as she wiped her mouth after taking her drink. We don't have any information on targets or locations yet. Prudent planning would suggest we stick together. We're entering enemy territory containing a man capable of fighting on the same level as Cage. Best to get in quickly, capture at least one target of opportunity and make our way out. Karui huffed and crossed her arms. I still think that Uzumaki is blown out of proportion. There's no way he's as strong as he says. Omoi sighed and scrubbed at his head, his own thoughts running in circles on the matter. We have physical proof that he's leveled several sound bases and fought against a rampaging Biju. Can any of us say the same? He was beginning to suspect that Karu's hatred of the Uzumaki might be impacting her judgment. He'd have to keep an eye on her. Killer Bee sighed, turning back to look at the assembled team. Less speculation for now. We'll have plenty of planning to do once we link up with the scout teams and have more information to go off of. B himself needed to start thinking about his own mission. Fighting against the container of the Nine Tails. Surely this was not going to be an easy thing. Oh, now you're beginning to worry about it. I was worried about it before. I'll win, but afterwards. So quickly you dismiss the young man's efforts, you may find that a mistake. He hasn't trained like we have. He can't possibly have bonded with the QB like you and I have. That'll be our advantage. If you say so, Gaki. Grumbling about know-it-all Biju, B turned to look out into the forest and overlooking Samui airing herself out with a happy sigh. Now wasn't the time to ogle, the mission came first. Why were the leaves giggling? With a start, B tossed a kunai up and into the canopy, which produced a yelp of surprise before a white-clad body fell to the ground before them. Everyone suddenly alert, they are greeted to the sight of the Toad Sage himself. Jiraiya of the Densetsu no Sanin had decided to pay them a visit. Well, this is a problem. Samui's comment filled the silence for all of a moment while Jiraiya grumbled and rolled to his feet. Or now why'd you go and do that? I had a great view from where I was. Grumbling and standing to his full height, the elder sage scrubbed at his head with a sigh. I swear, kids these days. Karui and Omoi took up defensive stances just behind Samui, who was already up and had a kunai in hand. Why are you here, Konoha Nin? Me. Jiraiya looked at them with genuine surprise. That was rich coming from a group of Kumo Nin in a country not their own. I'm just chasing rumors, nothing more. Why don't we all calm down a bit, have a chat? Jiraiya grinned and summoned one of his favorite toads, sitting on his head and producing a long pipe to smoke from. Need I remind you, you're in Hai no Kuni. It's only right that you stop by and say hello to the associated village if you're going to be passing through. Karui grunts and points an accusing finger towards the elder man. What would we want to talk to some aging pervert for anyway? Go die in a fire, you trash. Omoi turned to try and calm the redhead with a weak smile. Ma Karui, let's let them handle it, come on, let's finish up our break. But he's a pervert. Jiraiya started to laugh. I'm a super pervert young lady, and don't you forget it. Samui watches it all while her own thoughts circle around to what this could mean. Konoha usually kept out of situations like this, or failing that, tried to take the high road when they could. That the sage was here meant either they already knew what was up, or they didn't like their toes being stepped on like this. They were allies with Azu in the end, or at least said they were. She could play along at least. Sir Jiraiya, a question then, if you're willing to talk. Exhaling a long plume of tobacco smoke, Jiraiya turned mirthful eyes towards the busty blonde. Anything for you, young lady. Ask away. Getting a subtle nod from B as everyone began to relax a bit, Sumui took a few steps forward and placed a hand on her hip. We're hunting for our missing Jinchuriki. Rumor has it that the Azukiage has killed her. We want to know if that's true, and if he did. Why? Sumui didn't want to admit that she felt something for Yugito's loss, but it had been bothering her ever since the Raikage had decided she was a lost cause. She wanted answers. Blinking at her as Jiraiya couldn't believe anyone would start a rumor that Naruto of all people would kill a fellow Jinchuriki, let alone a hottie like Yugito. It took a lot of self-control not to laugh at these kids. Well, that's a load of shit, I'll tell ya. Pausing to knock out his ashes onto the ground while his toad grumbled but kept an eye on the opposing group, Jiraiya set about repacking his pipe with ease, just to make sure. You're talking about that totally stacked blonde who seems pretty moody most of the time. Jinchuriki of the two tails. She ain't dead, alive and well, in fact in a zoo. Making a life for herself last I heard. Seeing Sumui ponder that and not liking the look on her face, B steps forward with a frown. Yugito was too loyal for something like that. I find it hard to believe, even if it's coming from you. Jiraiya shrugged, idly flicking his thumb and producing a small fire there. Relighting his pipe with a smile, he shook his hand to extinguish the flame. Doesn't matter to me if you believe me or not. You asked a question and I answered honestly. He casts another bored look over the group of four before sighing and nodding his head slowly. Fun time was over, it seemed. Listen. Konoha is doing its best to both keep the peace and stay out of this conflict, so let me say this once. Mirthful eyes turned hard and cold in an instant and all of the Kumo ninja felt shivers crawl up and down their backs. Turn around. Now. Go back home. Because there is nothing past this point that is worth your lives. So he did know why they were out here. Shame. They couldn't let him leave then. Killer Bee stepped in front of Team Sumui, eyes never leaving the sage. We have our mission to perform. Legendary ninja or not, we cannot disobey our orders for you. Shrugging and hopping down from his friend, Jiraiya let him return home and stowed away his pipe. I had to try at least. Just a warning to you, once you reach a zoo, you won't have any choices for yourselves. Never mind Naruto. All of the Foxton girls would eat these kids alive. Toss in Jugo and his girls or Sasuke and Sakura. They'd never even touch Naruto. B knows without a doubt by this point that he can't let the Toad Sage leave here. He'd warn the Uzumaki before they could enact their plan, and that would spell disaster for their operation. He'd have to stay behind and put the sage down quickly. Sumui, take your team and go. I'll entertain the sage. That's not the plan B. Sumui's response was instant as she felt Omoi and Karui perk up behind her. This was one of the Sannin, legendary ninja who had fought against the likes of Hanzo. Jinchuriki he may be, but B would be hard-pressed to fight against such a threat alone. No choice. Get going. I won't let him stop you. Jiraiya shrugged, already hooking a thumb over his shoulder. Oh number. I wasn't going to stop them anyway. I told you, didn't I? I was just here to talk and they aren't a threat to anyone at this point. Besides, who was he to get in the way of Naruto's fun? B nods his head, flashing Sumui and her team a smile and a thumbs up. I'll be fine, I'll meet you at the next point soon enough. B and Jiraiya watched the team race off, dust kicked up from where they jumped and took to the trees in their haste to leave the area. No one wanted to be around when a Jinchuriki decided to go all out. Thanks for letting them go, Lord Jiraiya. Don't thank me yet. It might have been a mercy to put him down now. Azu has a particular hatred for Kumo after everything they've done. Jiraiya sighed as he and B began to well up the chakra, both easily dwarfing anything most normal ninja would have encountered in their lives. Still no chance I can convince you to turn around. This could still end peacefully. Loyalty and honor. B's reply is quiet, and Jiraiya gains a solemn face. Doesn't seem like much honor in attacking a nation that wants nothing but peace. But what do I know? Watching the fully realized Jinchuriki begin to draw his swords, Jiraiya summoned Ma and Pa to his sides. I hope this is worth it. Pa was already on one shoulder, focused on the dark-skinned man across from him. This is going to get ugly, isn't it, boyo? Jiraiya nodded as Ma joined his other shoulder, like you wouldn't believe. B was grinning as he artfully drew and held all of his swords. You're one to talk about peace, aren't you? How many have you slain in your years? Hundreds. Thousands. Your hands are no cleaner than ours. Feeling Ma and Pa meld with him and Sage Chakra begin to circulate through his body, Jiraiya sighed and focused completely on his enemy. I can admit that my past is a bloody one. That's exactly why I want the next generation's future to be free of it. They shouldn't have to go through what I did. But I won't let warmongers like her have their way. Not anymore. Of course, it was a bit of a gamble if he could hold off B. Fighting a Biju was one thing, but a fully realized Jinchuriki didn't sound like fun at all. Naruto owed him something special when this was over. Either that or maybe he could guilt Tsunade into healing him back up. In a nurse outfit at that. B. Things had certainly taken a turn for the better, Haruna had decided. Sure, she had considered that the girl Naruto had been leading her and her protectors into a trap, and had been ready to die if it was so. But here now, as she sat across from the spring daimyo and the priestess from Demon Country, she decided it was a gamble worth making. She may yet be able to save her people from her father's murderers. So, just so we're clear. Kayuki was smiling as she handed over a small folder with assorted paperwork that Haruna could look over as they talked. Azushio is trying to find peaceful ways to unite the countries, or at least come to mutual understanding so we can avoid future conflicts. We aren't looking to make your country a vassal state or take control of you. We're looking for friends and allies. To that point, we're offering to help you in any capacity that we can to ensure that you, the rightful daimyo of Vegetable, reclaims the throne. Shien nodded along as Kayuki paused. We originally hadn't known that you still lived, so we had been on the way to your capital in order to negotiate with whoever was still in power. I'm glad to see that we can make sure the rightful leader will be in charge and on the other side of the negotiation table. Shien and Kayuki had listened to Haruna's story calmly, and had both felt anger at the Janin brothers and their quest for power. They would make sure Naruto and Fu got to them all before they left for the next destination. Haruna gave them a concerned look as she considered their words. Please be careful, the Janin, the men following me and looking to kill me. They are no laughing matter. They are dangerous. Kayuki is already waving away her concern. As far as she was concerned, no one on this planet was a match for Naruto in the end. The Azukage's sister, Naruto, will be more than enough for them. Have no fear. Looking to impress the severity of the situation on him more, Haruna opens her mouth to continue, but the coach rocks as an explosion is set off not far away. She looks to the window as Kayuki and Shien give knowing nods and they all can hear a woman's mad cackling in the air. What was that? Kayuki sighs and shakes her head. That would be Naruto. Probably taking care of either some bandits who thought they'd find an easy mark, or maybe those Janin you were worried about. Outside, they could hear Fuu's voice. Don't go overboard, we need to be able to identify them. You can't turn them into pink mist. In response, Naruto's voice rose to meet her girlfriends. They're the ones WHO called you a child. They deserve death. Another explosion rocked the area, and Shien offered a shy smile as she tries to steer the conversation back to the future alliance negotiations. Saram. All that said, you'll see that we are more than capable of fielding very talented ninja as well when needed. But we hope to work towards a world that doesn't require such in the long run. Wide-eyed and slowly turning back to the daimyo and priestess across from her, Haruna slumped in her seat. Here she was, running for her life and terrified out of her mind that she was going to die any day now. But here in an instant are these people from Azushio casually batting aside her pursuers like toys. Well, she certainly wouldn't be underestimating this group. Well, I guess, let's get to talking then. I'm certainly open to joining your cause if it means a more peaceful region in the future. Kayuki smiled and pumped a fist into the air. That's the spirit. She'd have to remind Naruto to show some restraint later. Riding atop the daimyo's carriage, Taruho and Sasuke chat and share stories with Kikunojo and Yurinojo. Kikunojo has a weak smile on his face as all four men do their best to ignore the carnage on display some distance behind them. Sure seems like traveling with your group means less to worry about. Those Azushio ninja are very talented. Taruho sighs but nods along. You have no idea. Things have certainly been interesting since we have joined up with the nation. But they did help us out in our time of need and didn't ask for anything in return. They follow their word like it's law. And their Azukage is a honorable man. Kikunojo frowns at that, leaning in to make sure none of the women below him hear what he is about to mention. I've heard rumors about the Azukage. Seeing he had the other men's attention, he pressed on, that the Azukage is a womanizer of the highest order and has an insatiable appetite. Shaking his head immediately, Taruho wanted to set them straight quickly. No, that's not the case at all. Well, not exactly. Another explosion rocks an area and they all turn back to see Naruto tossing two of the Janin brothers around with ease, explosions and clones batting the two younger brothers back and forth across an empty and rocky field. Sasuke had to hold in a snicker as the more rotund Jiga was tossed through the air, limbs flailing limply. She really is a handful. Taruho gave thanks it wasn't his job to watch after the spirited blonde. I'm the queen of destruction. Challenge me at your peril. Oh. Taruho again gave thanks that she was not his responsibility. They are a boisterous lot. Kikunojo was nodding and ignoring the starry-eyed Yurinojo. I can tell. Well, at least they didn't have to worry about their assassins anymore. Now he just had to worry about Yurinojo developing a crush on the headstrong woman. It'd be the Tsunade situation all over again. Behind the main carriage and further behind Fu driving along the peddler cart the three runaways had been using, Naruto stood tall over the broken and beaten bodies of Ruiga and Jiga. Ruiga, the smaller, more runner type of the two, still had enough energy to try and drag himself away, leaving behind a torn bit of one of his blue arm warmers. Naruto considered what she could do to him while the other more heavy-set Jiga was face down in the mud and barely breathing, but he was in one piece, which was all that mattered. You know, for all the shit you've stirred up here, I figured you would be a bigger challenge. Your big brother better be more of a workout than you two were. Ruiga felt like both of his legs might be broken, and had long ago lost his tonfa to who knows where. The demon woman most likely burned him to a crisp by now. If only Renga was here. We'd show you, Harridan. Woohoo, big talk from such a lightweight. Naruto walked up to him, roughly kicking him in the ribs and getting a weak groan of pain for her efforts. The purple-haired man wasn't a looker as far as she was concerned, and he wasn't much of a challenge. Hopefully his bounty would be worth something in the end. You know what, maybe it'll be nice. Seeing his eyes struggle to meet hers while the fat one just gurgled in response, she continued, pledge yourselves to me and I'll let you live. Finding some energy from somewhere inside of himself, Jiga rolled onto his side to face the monster girl. I'll serve you. I'll do anything. Ruiga nodded quickly, body failing to move as he commanded it. Yes, yes. We'll serve you in whatever capacity that you wish, oh great queen. Preening at being called a queen, Naruto had to admit that it just didn't have the same ring to it as when Fu called her such. Shame. Yeah, never mind. Guys don't really do it for me anyway. Snapping her fingers, two clones pop into existence to slap suppression seals on their chests. They both slump bonelessly to the dirt and Naruto sets about sealing them away for transport. That Haruna woman better offer up a good bounty for Yal when this is all over. You weren't really worth the fight. Now she just needed to convince Fu to have some fun later, and this would be the perfect day. B. Standing before a humming and glowing green tube, Naruto stared at the naked but healing Hinata as she floated before him. Breathing mask over her mouth and nose while electrical leads hooked to spots on her chest and arms, the steady beeping letting him know that her heart was still beating was a soothing sound. Certainly better than the static that had filled his mind when the others explained that she had gotten hurt. By the Iwa Jinchuriki no less. Honoka sighed as she stood next to Naruto, keeping silent now that she had finished explaining the mission and what had gone wrong. She was worried about what Naruto would do, knowing that they had done something foolish and reckless. Would he cast them out? Punish them for endangering themselves? Off to the side she noted Tayuya and Karen also maintaining their silence, no one wanting to break Naruto's mood at the moment. Inside Naruto's mind, a different conversation was taking place. She nearly died because of me. It wasn't your fault, Gaki. Onoki set that trap for me. If he wasn't after me, then she never would have gotten hurt. None of them would have been in danger. Nor would they have been if they had turned around when they realized it was most likely a trap. Sometimes you run into bad luck, Naruto, you can't protect them from everything. I know, I love her. I love them all, so much. Seeing her like this, it hurts Kurama. I know, but remember, you have to talk to them, don't shut them out. Kurama sighed and lazily waved his tails back and forth. You can make this right, just remain calm and centered. Right. Taking a deep and steadying breath, Naruto considered that he had to thank Nariko when she returned for helping make sure the girls learned the Hiraishin. Without that and Hinata's knowledge on seals, they wouldn't be here right now. Taking Naruto's sigh as a sign of rising anger, Honoka bowed before him to apologize. I'm sorry. I should have been more insistent that we return and not take the risk. We wanted. Honoka was interrupted as Naruto pulled her to her feet and embraced her in a tight but warm hug that she melted into almost immediately. Naruto, Shush. Naruto's voice was calm as he rubbed the back of her head while one arm encircled her waist. Right now what is important is that you're all home and you're safe. Yeah, I'm upset and we'll get to having a talk about it later, but for now let's focus on the good. Hinata will heal, nothing permanent happened, so let's leave it at that. Stepping back and letting Honoka go for the moment, Naruto offered her a smile. You're alive. That gives you a chance to make tomorrow a better day. Tears nearly spilling from her eyes, Honoka smiled brightly and nodding quickly, of course. Yes, you're right. She steps in for one more hug, head laying against his chest and savoring the strong sound of his heartbeat in her ear. We will be having a sit down about this though, don't forget that. Naruto had remembered that they had been very cross with him when he had done much the same with Orochimaru. He couldn't let them slide with doing the same. Looking up at the tired-looking Tayuya, Naruto nodded to her. I'm guessing some things came up while I was gone. Tayuya put a hand to her hip as she herself was worried but happy to see Hinata alive and healing. There's a large chakra signature that is headed our way, but it has paused for now. We think it is a Jinchuriki, but unsure of who it could be. Her money was on the Kumo one. Nodding and letting Honoka go, Naruto extended his senses to get a feel for it himself. Yup, it was B, and O. Jiraiya was there, guess he shouldn't have to worry too much for now, the old pervert could hold his own for a while. Looks like Jiraiya intercepted B for us, but I'll go and make sure the old bastard doesn't get in over his head later. But that gives us time to prepare here. Naruto knew that if they were sending B, and Iwa was making moves as well, that meant at least some amount of forces were on their way here. That would be a mistake. Up patrols, I want heavy weapons and multiple teams running overlapping routes all along our border. No one from Iwa or Kumo sets foot in Wave or Izushio. Naruto considered how he felt and decided to just roll with it. We've built a home here where people shouldn't have to worry about danger or conflict, so let's keep it that way. The citizens shouldn't even hear a raid siren through all of this. I want it taken care of quickly and quietly. Tai nodded. I'll see it done. Good. Naruto then turned to Karen with a grin that bordered on sadistic. You said you have Kuretsuki locked up, right? Karen shivered in multiple ways as those eyes landed on her. Yes. She's in a holding cell still knocked out. Good. She and I have a meeting with the Tsuchikage. Oh yes. Naruto needed to have some words with Onoki. Hurt one of his girls would he? Time to make his response rather proportional. B. Kisame considered how his life had gotten to this point. Leader had promised that this life would lead to a better, more just world, and he had followed that ideal all this time. It didn't hurt that he had gotten some primo fights in the meantime and been able to have plenty of fun along the way. But now, as a larger conflict looked to be on the horizon, he was starting to get antsy. Looks like Izushio is going to be tested soon. Pain nods from behind his desk, eyes looking out over the land of rain. The villagers can't help but fight among themselves. I knew that while Izushio wanted peace, at least a few of the others wouldn't be able to accept it. Destruction is baked into their very being. Turning back to watch Kisame and Konan, the leader of Akatsuki let a small grin grace his face. Now is the test. Will Izushio still be standing after this or not? Konan steps forward a pace, concern on her visage. Should we offer them assistance? While they weren't officially allies, they had a common goal. To see them snuffed out so early would be disheartening. Shaking his head, Pain waves off her worry. If they cannot weather this, then there is no hope for them to actually build their so-called peace. More, it is a test for Naruto himself. He will now be faced with just how ugly the world can be. Considering it all and deciding it was all above his pay grade, Kisame reached back to finger the hilt of his sword. Say, you mind if I head out and have some fun myself? Pain did not care either way, things were already far outside of their control, you are free to do as you please. Laughing and nodding, Kisame turned to leave with a hand waving goodbye over his shoulder. So you say then, leader. It's been nice knowing ya. Maybe we'll see each other again one day. His footsteps echoing down the hallway, his shark-like grin grew with every step he took away from them. Finally he had the chance to truly cut loose. That Uzumaki brat better have been working on his sword work. Kisame wanted a real challenge. Conan sighed and came to stand next to Pain. Was that wise? Akatsuki is effectively down to just you and I now. We are more than enough to protect Rain. Once this new conflict is done, the next step is to confront Naruto again. He and I have a promise to keep after all. It was time to see if what Pain predicted was going to come true. Would Naruto see the world as Pain did? Or would he hold on to his idealism? They would find out soon enough. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.